Hello, and welcome to Craft Kingdom. This week we're going to be taking some old trees and making them into a new forest. These trees, we are going to be sticking them onto MDF bases. The larger bases that you see are 60mm, the smaller ones are 50mm. And because these trees are going to be stored in my garage where it's not particularly warm and it may be slightly damp, we're going to base coat all of the undersides of the bases using an oil-based paint. This is to make sure that no damp gets in and the bases don't end up getting mouldy. We're going to leave that to dry overnight, and then for the landforms for all of these bases, we're going to use a form of homemade modelling compound. This is just a mixture of fine casting plaster and paper insulation. We're also going to decorate the bases using these Woodland Scenics rock molds. These are just the pieces that have broken off during casting, or a couple of them are the smaller bits of the molds, I think in the Outcroppings mold. To make the landforms, we're just going to add a large glob of this modelling compound to the middle of the base. Really, we're trying to keep in mind that at some stage we're going to drill a hole for the model tree to go in the middle. So we're trying to make the highest point the centre of the base. So here you can just see I have made the mound, I've put on the rock mould, and now I'm just trying to blend the two together to make it look like a seamless landform. So I'll just drag around the excess and pop it there and get a little bit more to finish off that base. And then we'll just nip on and do the rest of the bases. No need to play it at normal speed. Just going around each of them. I prefer to try and put a mound in the middle of each of the bases to try and kind of portion control the sculpt mold, and that way I don't use kind of too much and too little, or I don't end up making a massive mound on the first one and by the end of it I don't have any left. Okay, we're going to do leopard spotting on the rocks next. So we've got chocolate brown, orange clay, and a dark blue. I think it's called night blue. And we're just going to do the leopard spotting technique, which is just to water down some paint and to allow the porous nature of the plaster to soak in each of the paints. We're kind of only going half and half in leopard spotting here, so there's no black. And to kind of mute it all down, what we are going to do instead is we're going to take a grey later on and we're going to dry brush that over the leopard spotting to help tie it into some other hills that I've made already. Painting the ground, my preferred colour is a mixture of the chocolate brown that we'd seen before and a raw umber. These are just cheap £1 craft paints from a couple of local stores. We're just going to go around and paint each of the bases. We'll give the rims of the bases a double coat just to try and help with the fact that that'll be where these bases are touched most for picking them up and putting them down, just to help the longevity of them. Next we're going to get onto the dry brushing. So this is just a £1 cheap grey craft paint, and we've got a large makeup brush here for applying it. So this is just a dry brush over the top, masking down the colours that we'd applied earlier and helping tie them in. So we've just still got a little bit of the orange and the brown and the blue shining through, but most of the rock is now changing to grey. And then we're going to do a highlight using another cheap craft paint. We're going to mix it on the paper towel that we were using to dry off our brush before. So it's kind of a mixture between that off-white and the grey before. And we're just looking to hit the highest points here. Not too much of a highlight. Next we're going to go on to flocking, and for most of the bases I use a quite muted palette. So the colours that you can see behind there, we have Woodland Scenics Earth, we have Woodland Scenics Weeds, and we have Woodland Scenics Burnt Grass. And we're going to start off by sprinkling the Woodland Scenics Earth colour in 2 or 3 spots over the base. Then we're going to move on to Weeds and sprinkle that in 2 or 3 spots of the base. And then finally we're going to fill in any of the gaps that we have with Burnt Grass. Next we're going to move on to drilling the bases. So if you're under 18 or if you are a child, please go and get adult supervision for this. I have already measured up the drill bits to make sure that they are approximately the same diameter as the tree trunks, and we're just going to drill all of the bases here. Some of these trees did have artificial roots on them as well, but I have used a pair of clippers that you can see to take them off. Also off camera, in each of the holes that I've drilled, I've put a little bit of No More Nails as an adhesive, and also to help keep the tree upright in there. You could also use PVA for glue for this instead. It's just working in the garage. The No More Nails is right in front of me, so it's what I used. Now we've got 3 different tones of flock on there, but to make them more realistic, what we're going to do is add on some leaf litter now. I made my own leaf litter using some brown sawdust flock that was bought from eBay, and also some ground up leaves that I collected before and put through a coffee grinder. And the idea for this is just to target directly underneath the tree where the canopy of the tree would have shaded the ground, and also where the leaves would have been able to fall the easiest, but then also put 2 or 3 spots round the base to just kind of help break it up and make it look more natural, that it's not just a ring around the tree. Now the last stage for the foliage on these bases, we're going to apply this coarse foam flock. This was actually made by using Clump foliage and putting it through a coffee grinder. And this is to try and simulate just larger weeds. We're not going to put static grass on these bases because we're trying to keep it relatively simple and fast. And that'll be it. We'll just get on to sealing and we'll be done. So to hand, all I could find was this magnetic holder for raising the bases up off the ground, and then we'll just give it a liberal spraying all over to make sure that we seal everything in. For drying, I found some coffee stirrers and rested them on then just so they don't end up sticking to the hobby mat. And that's us done. That's these old trees made into a new forest. I'm really pleased with how they turned out and that they fit in with the rest of the terrain that I've made for the kingdom. Hopefully you like them too. If you've got any suggestions for what you'd like to see next, please leave a comment. Apart from that, thanks for watching.